So apparently, there is another fire there that has happened of all the fires. Right? It's it's probably like 10 of them at this point, from the one in Ohio. There was one in Florida. There was one in, I believe, what was it, South Carolina. One in Arizona, actually. There was one. They've been all over the place. And all of these fires just keep happening, similar to the fires that were happening with all the manufacturing plants, all of the food processing plants, all of the farms. How is it that these massive fires just happen out of the blue? Like, do these buildings not have some kind of system in place to prevent the fire from breaking out? Or, right? Let me actually make this a little. I'm gonna turn off the auto because I don't need it. Or is something occurring, right, that's causing these fires to happen immediately? Just poof, giant flame. Nobody's able to stop it because it's just immediately a large fire. Now, to be honest, they are screaming squirrel. Look over there, not over here. You don't need to see Epstein's client list. Exactly, Kulini Andrew. But hey, there is something going on, and you know what? I think not only are the fires targeting certain things, but I also believe, right? I also believe there is another situation going on. There's another situation going on with these fires that kind of also go along with the whole blue beam thing that I'm going to talk about later on. Now, just remember, these fires, right? They're not like small fires. These fires are massive. They're putting, as you can see, these ginormous clouds into the sky. Now, this one I think was a manufacturing plant. So what's in there? Whatever they're manufacturing, right? But the one in Ohio with all the chemicals, there's no way that people are sitting there and believing, or I hope they aren't believing, that everything's fine and okay and the water's good, the air is fine. Just go home and just don't think about it. Because that's clearly what the government is telling them in the area. Sadly, I am sure there are very small number of people, but there's some people who are still going to be like, okay, well, the government said it's fine, so I'm going to be good. But then there's some people who are going to be like, no, this doesn't seem right. They're telling me this, but I mean, I guess I can only do whatever they say. No, there's a certain point where you have to take responsibility for your own actions. You have to do for yourself, and you have to say, hey, this is clearly something wrong going on here. I need to do what I can for myself to make sure I am safe. Hopefully more people are doing that and understanding that you can't trust anything that you're told about these situations. Along with the Ohio thing, right? Probably should have put this one together, but let's listen to Tucker Carlson first, and then I'll speak.
We know where Caitlin Schwartzwalder is tonight. She's right outside the town hall where no officials from the Biden administration or the train company bothered to show up. She's the owner of the Von Schwartz Doberman Kennel in Pennsylvania. She's a dog person. She lives about a mile over the border from East Palestine. And she has just been asked to sign a waiver promising not to sue agencies monitoring the air near her property. We thought that was telling. Caitlin Schwartzwalder joins us tonight with her boyfriend, Chris Wells. Caitlin and Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Caitlin, if you'll just explain your experience with the official who asked you to sign a waiver?
Sure. So what I can tell you is that we would like to have independent testing done. And the people at Norfolk had suggested that they were going to offer services by an independent testing company to do air and water testing for us. When these people came to our property, the company was called CTEH. I call it CTEC. And they had approached our property, came to our driveway and said, you know, we're here to test the water and soil. And I said, okay, so you guys are independent from Norfolk. And they said, well, not exactly. So then they handed us a contract. The contract stated that essentially Norfolk or any of its affiliates, you know, were going to be, encroaching on the property. They were going to be doing the testing, and that it was essentially a hold harmless agreement. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but what I can tell you is that I did not want to risk anything for my future, the future of the business, by signing this contract. EPA was also there, and we had asked, Chris specifically had asked EPA if they could come in by themselves or without signing of any agreements, and they denied that.
Well, yeah, I mean, having the company whose train derailed test for the effects of the derailment is a little like putting Pfizer in charge of the FDA. Oh, I guess we did that.
Yeah. Doesn't that seem a little odd? Like, why would you have the person who caused the issue test to make sure the issue is A-okay? Like, clearly, as we already see, they're going to come out and say, hey, everything is fine. Everything is Gucci. And nothing's going to happen. Doesn't that make you think, hey, there's a cover-up going on here? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Either one, there's a cover-up, or two, this was done on purpose. Once again. Now, I did mention this before, I think. I don't know, but I'm just going to say it again. But I know someone who was living in Ohio. What part? Not fully sure what part, but right before this happened, like either a week before or a few days, but right before this happened, right, they moved back here to this state, North Carolina, and they are in the military. I'm just gonna say that much. And oddly enough, it makes me wonder, so why did you decide to move back at this time? Was it a coincidence? I mean, maybe. It could have been a coincidence. Maybe they had already planned on moving back here at this time, this exact time. But I would totally love to ask them, hey, did you know anything about this? Now, I'm sure they're not going to straight up tell me, oh, yeah, I totally knew something. They'll probably be like, no, I didn't know anything. But, you know, of course, how they answer the question would be interesting, because I would totally say, hey, yeah, did you hear about that? Did you hear about the thing happening in Ohio? I mean, it's pretty big, right? It's on the news. Oh, it's not really on the news. Oh, well, yeah, you should check that out. It just happened like right before you, right after, I should say, right after you moved here. It happened. So, did you know anything about that? I'm sure they're not going to tell me. But just the fact, knowing whether or not they had any clue about it, that's pretty telling. Now you can see even in this little clip, the dude's walking around with this, you know, the mask and the gloves, and he's kind of, you know, covered in the case of this chemical spill that's clearly in the water going into the soil. I mean, like, how is anybody going to believe that nothing is going on here? How is anybody going to believe that everything's safe? I would hope, at least, that people have the common sense enough to be like, they're lying, right? Like, the community should find someone to independently test this, pay them, you know, themselves. Don't trust the government, because they're not going to. So independently pay someone else to test the water, air, and soil. And then there you go. Now let's say, Kunle, did you hear about I don't know, something NATO nations pulled their people out of Turkey days before the earth? Oh, yes, I did actually. I did hear about that. There was also, I believe, a ship, the Stasi something. There was like a U.S. ship that was happened to be stationed there like a little while before the earthquakes happened, and they had like, it was like a 500-man crew. They were supposedly there in Turkey to learn about the culture. That's what they were told. That's interesting. But yeah, yeah, I wouldn't trust the US government if my life depended on it. And my life depends on me not trusting them. So I'm going to go ahead and not trust them.
Thank you once again for watching, but please go subscribe on Rumble, Odyssey, and Utreon to see more content that we cannot put on YouTube. Also, check out our GameSanity channel where we play live streams of different games, and the Oreyo Show where we have a podcast about current events and interesting topics going on in the world today. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.